Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, the death toll rises in that fiery Kentucky plane crash. Investigators pore over the black boxes after a UPS cargo plane crashes shortly after takeoff, carrying nearly 250,000 pounds of fuel, killing at least 12.
I'm Alex Perez here in Louisville, where questions are swirling about that 34-year-old plane that was on its third flight of the day before it came crashing down.
Democrats score victories in the major political races last night, setting the stage for the face-off between the right and left in next year's midterms, which President Trump today called a choice between communism and common sense.
I'm Aaron Katersky here in New York, where the city saw its highest turnout in a mayoral election in more than 50 years.
Senator Ted Cruz weighs in on what's next for the Republican Party and the government shutdown, now the longest in history. A teacher pulled out of a private Chicago daycare by ICE agents. A dramatic scene unfolding this morning in front of parents and their young children, sparking outrage in the community. The teachers claim she worked there legally, the latest in more than 3,000 immigrant arrests in the Chicago area in the last 2 months. And 36 days now into that government shutdown, we introduce you to the federal employees, military families, parents, and business owners who allowed ABC News into their daily lives, showing us the difficulties of living without the paychecks and food benefits they depend on to feed themselves and their families.
What parent wants their child to see them struggling and upset and crying because you're worried about not only where the food's coming from, but we're right around the corner from the holidays.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're following an unprecedented move by the FAA tonight. Faced with growing safety concerns and a shortage of air traffic controllers during the government shutdown, the Federal Aviation Administration says it will reduce air traffic by 10% at 40 major American airports. This reduction would impact thousands of flights nationwide starting Friday. But first, we do begin with a deadly catastrophe on a runway in Louisville, Kentucky. A UPS cargo jet exploded seconds after takeoff, killing at least 12 people. Dramatic video captured the moment the speeding plane burst into flames. Fire erupts from the left engine that detached from the wing. NTSB investigators are combing a debris field nearly a half-mile in size and trying to determine what went wrong in this deadliest crash in UPS's history. The plane was cleared for takeoff to Honolulu, loaded with thousands of gallons of jet fuel. It ignited into a massive fireball and crashed into a petroleum plant and warehouse, killing all 3 people on board and 9 more on the ground. ABC's Alex Perez leads us off tonight from Louisville.
Tonight in Louisville, a search for answers after the left engine of this UPS cargo jet carrying nearly 250,000 pounds of fuel broke away as the plane was taking off, killing all 3 on board and at least 9 on the ground, including a child. NTSB investigators say they found the plane's black boxes and they're poring over videos showing UPS Flight 2976 bound for Honolulu barreling down the runway with its left engine on fire Tuesday.
And we have viewed airport CCTV security coverage, which shows the left engine detaching from the wing during the takeoff roll.
As the aircraft begins to rotate and tries to gain altitude, we see sparks coming out of the center engine, which suggests that some of the debris may have damaged the second engine.
This truck driver's dashboard camera a half-mile south of that runway capturing the moment the massive plane hit the ground, skidding on its left side. Crash and explosion hitting a petroleum recycling plant and an auto parts warehouse.
Did everybody make it out? No. What do you mean no? No!
We've seen blast injuries from the explosion itself. We've also seen some shrapnel injuries where flying pieces of debris have hit either bystanders or people in relatively close proximity to the accident.
Fire crews is still putting out hot spots this morning. They say most of the fuselage is gone. The Boeing MD-11 was 34 years old and was on its 3rd flight of the day. It had also been out of service for maintenance for much of the last month and again over the weekend.
Whether or not it was in maintenance, basically what we had here was probably one of the worst in history, if not the worst, uncontained engine failures.
Governor Andy Beshear ordering flags to half staff in honor of the 12 victims killed, including at least one child.
And a young child at that, which makes it all the harder.
Never easy for any loss of life. Alex Perez joins us now. Alex, what are the impacts on people near the Louisville airport?
Well, Lindsay, some schools that were closed today will be back open tomorrow. And because the explosion scattered debris, authorities are asking people who may find pieces of it to notify officials. This is a huge hub for UPS, some 2 million packages through here a day. And we expect some of those will now be delayed. Lindsay?
Alex Perez for us. Thanks so much, Alex. Tonight, Democrats are celebrating a newfound sense of momentum over Republicans following his historic win in New York City's race for mayor. Zoran Mamdani is already laying the groundwork for his new administration. His campaign focused on making the city more affordable, more fair through unprecedented change. Across the country, the key issue for voters was the economy. The president railed against the results. Here's ABC's Aaron Katersky.
The next mayor of the greatest city.
Tonight, big wins for Democrats. From New Jersey to Virginia to California, giving the party a shot of momentum as Americans turned out in droves for the first major election since President Trump took office. In America's largest city, a political earthquake as more than 2 million New Yorkers voted, the largest turnout for a mayoral election in more than 50 years.
In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light.
34-year-old Zoran Mamdani, now mayor-elect, the first Muslim to lead New York. His rocket ride campaign focused on the #1 issue for voters in all of this year's elections, affordability and the economy. It powered former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger to victory in the Virginia governor's race.
Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship.
The rising cost of living also drove the governor's race in New Jersey, where voters elected Congresswoman and former Navy pilot Mikey Sherrill by a 13-point margin, defeating Republican businessman Jack Ciattarelli, who had the strong backing of the president.
Here in New Jersey, we know that this nation has not ever been, nor will it ever be, ruled by kings.
Democrats call their wins a wake-up call for the White House.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Today, Trump acknowledging Republicans came up short.
I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening, and we learned a lot.
Zoran Mamdani saying the lesson is clear. Trump ran on a pledge to bring down prices on day one, and Americans are still waiting for that to happen.
I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis.
Our thanks to Aaron Katersky. Next tonight to that government shutdown, which is now in its record 36th day, and to that major news about thousands of flights here in the U.S. that are about to be canceled. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the government shutdown hits 36 days, marking the longest in history, breaking the previous record set during President Trump's first administration. And the strain on air travel reaching a breaking point.
This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure. Our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
In an unprecedented move, President Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing the FAA will cut flight capacity by 10%, which experts say means thousands of flights will be canceled across 40 major airports by the weekend.
What will this mean practically for air travel? Is this going to lead to more flight delays, more cancellations?
Well, I think it's going to lead to more cancellations. We're going to work with the airlines to do this in a systematic way.
Across the country, air traffic controller shortages have already caused massive delays and cancellations as workers go without pay and call out sick. About 60,000 TSA workers also missing paychecks. Today, Philadelphia's International Airport closing 2 security checkpoints.
We're petrified. We are concerned.
And Washington Dulles Airport, FAA radar technician and union rep Cleverson Schmidt warning the impact will get worse the longer the shutdown drags on.
You were already short-staffed.
Correct.
And how much worse has this shutdown made it?
It's exponentially made it worse because we're exhausted now.
And how much does that compromise air safety?
That compromise goes up every single day.
Really dangerous. Our thanks to Rachel Scott. With the shutdown now the longest in American history, the impacts are being felt across the country from SNAP to TSA and air traffic controllers. We're glad to be joined by the chair of the Senate Commerce Committee, Republican Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you as always for joining us. A lot of ground to cover tonight. Your committee oversees safety in the skies, and late today, the FAA announced that they will reduce flight capacity by 10% at 40 major airports. That's up to 4,500 flights cut per day. You're probably hearing about all of this along with the rest of us. Americans plan trips well in advance. How concerned are you about this move?
Look, I'm very concerned. We're in day 36 of the Schumer shutdown. This is the longest government shutdown in American history. It needs to end. This is hurting Americans all across the country. And now, starting Friday, you're going to see a 10% cut in flights at the 40 largest airports. And look, the FAA doesn't want to do this, but they're doing this to protect passenger safety. And what is so infuriating, Lindsay, this doesn't have to happen. 14 times Republicans have voted to open the government, and 14 times Democrats have voted to keep the government shut. And enough is enough. The political stunt that the Democrats are pulling is hurting real people.
Under the shadow of the shutdown last night, millions of Americans delivered an early verdict on the first year of the Trump administration. Do you feel at all like Americans, at least in Virginia and New Jersey, gave Republicans a message last night that Republicans haven't delivered in this first year?
Well, look, I think the results in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City were really unfortunate. New York City has elected someone who is an open communist and a jihadist. That is really dangerous for this country.
A jihadist? Where do you get that from?
He chants globalize the Intifada in the wake of October 7th. He has not acknowledged even Israel's right to exist. And that is tragic for America's largest city, for the financial capital of the world, for the media capital of the world, to be now governed by someone. And to be clear, it's not even that Mandami is a socialist. He is a full-on communist. He advocates for government seizure of the means of production. That is dangerous. It is tragic. As you know, my father came from Cuba. My family has seen firsthand the deprivation and suffering at the hands of communists. I think it is tragic. And you mentioned Virginia. I will say truly stunning last night that Jay Jones, the Democratic candidate for Attorney General, who in writing said he wished to see his political opponents, Republicans, shot and murdered, and even worse, he wished to see their young children shot and murdered. Well, unfortunately, Democrat voters in Virginia elected him as the chief law enforcement officer in Virginia.
But a number of the Democrats who won last night, they started with some version of, we are sending a message. You have sent a message. So even you bring up Jay Jones, for example, the fact that in many cases where there was consideration even that there might be a split ticket, does this give you pause as the shutdown negotiations drag on that Americans want something different? Because as much as we know with the debate with regard to the Republicans and Democrats, and each side blames the other, that there is something that each side could actually do to end it.
No, that is objectively false. So the reason we have a shutdown is in the Senate, it takes 60 votes to vote to fund the government. Republicans have voted 14 times in a row to fund the government. Look, when Joe Biden was president, 13 different times Republicans voted with the Democrats to keep the government open. We could have done what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing now. They needed Republican votes. The difference is we were not reckless and irresponsible. And I'll tell you, your two questions are actually very closely connected, Lindsay. The reason I believe that this shutdown is extended so long is Democrats believe it is politically good for them to shut the government down. And look, in terms of the results, are the results concerning? Absolutely, because the extreme left wing, those who hate Donald Trump, they showed up in big numbers last night. And I got to say, the rest of the country, I think the common sense middle ground, I think too many of those voters stayed home. I think people are feeling pretty good, and those voters who stayed home were overwhelmed by the angry extreme left wing. And unfortunately, the residents of Virginia, the residents of New Jersey, the residents of New York City are going to pay the price for that.
Senator Ted Cruz, so appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
For more on last night's decisive election, we want to bring in the vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus and Congressman from California, Ted Lieu. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. Last night, certainly we saw a number of wins from moderates and progressives on the Democratic side. What's the lesson learned?
Thank you, Lindsay, for your question. Under the policies of Donald Trump and Republicans, inflation continues to increase, food prices have gone up, and healthcare costs are skyrocketing. And the American people sent a message last night, which is we need a course correction. And Donald Trump can stop this government shutdown by simply meeting with the four legislative leaders, Republican and Democrat, and solve this issue.
Republicans like Speaker Mike Johnson shrugged off the GOP losses. Let's take a listen.
There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come.
What makes you think and be confident that this momentum will endure into the midterms?
Democrats didn't just win in blue states. Democrats won in every state where there was an election, including Pennsylvania, Maine, Georgia, and Mississippi. And if Republicans want to stick their head in the sand and ignore the results last night, it's going to be to their peril. We need to open this government. And a reminder, Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the House. This is a Republican shutdown.
In your home state of California, of course, voters passed Proposition 50 to redraw the state's congressional maps. Will this be enough for Democrats in the midterms to pick up some seats?
I want to thank the leadership of Governor Gavin Newsom in getting Prop 50 into law. This was a reaction to what Texas did when Trump tried to rig the election by making Texas create 5 lean Republican seats. California responded, and not only did California create 5 lean Democratic seats, we also shore up and strengthen 5 difficult seats for Democrats to defend and an additional 3 difficult seats to defend. So we actually had a better result than Texas did. And Donald Trump made his situation even worse because of what he did with Texas earlier this year.
Let's turn now to the government shutdown, officially now the longest in history. Even the president admitted that it was a big factor in last night's results. Will this push Republicans and Democrats to at least negotiate and reopen the government?
So I've been going back to Washington, D.C. For 5 weeks, and House Republicans are still on vacation in the 6th week of government shutdown. We can't even negotiate because House Republicans are nowhere to be found. So Speaker Johnson needs to call his members back from vacation, sit down and have a real conversation so we can stop the skyrocketing healthcare costs and reopen government.
Until the government does reopen, what would you say to Californians who are threatened by the funding lapse for the SNAP program or rising healthcare costs?
My heart goes out to everyone impacted by the government shutdown. I do want to thank California and other states for stepping up to try to help those in need. But we also have court cases saying that the Trump administration has to use contingency funds set aside for this very purpose, for emergencies, to pay people programs that help hungry kids, seniors, and disabled veterans. And I urge the Trump administration to not ignore the federal court orders and to pay the hunger programs administered by the SNAP programs.
With the government shutdown, of course, we have just learned about these cuts that the FAA is going to begin. And you obviously are flying back and forth from coast to coast regularly. How much are you concerned by that?
I'm deeply concerned, and safety has to be the number one priority of the FAA. At the same time, air traffic controllers are working without pay right now. My heart goes out to them. I thank them for their tremendous work. And that's why we need the Republicans to reopen this government. Trump could simply get this government open by simply convening a meeting and telling his Republican legislative leaders to work out a deal with Democrats, and it would happen.
Congressman Ted Lieu, we thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now to the battle unfolding at the Supreme Court. The centerpiece of President Trump's economic agenda is at stake. Devin Dwyer has more on the consequential arguments at the court today over whether the Trump administration can use an emergency law to impose tariffs.
Tonight, President Trump's sweeping global tariffs, collecting tens of billions of dollars for the U.S. Treasury and driving up consumer prices, now hanging in the balance at the U.S. Supreme Court. The justices hearing historic arguments today over the meaning of a 1977 law that lets presidents regulate importation in times of emergency. Trump claims that means tariffs to address what he calls existential threats from persistent trade deficits and inflows of illegal drugs. Today, he also boasted about the revenue.
My tariffs are bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars and are helping slash the deficit this year by more than 50%.
But the Constitution gives the power to tax to Congress, not the president. A group of states and small business owners, including wine importer Victor Schwartz, who brought the case, say Trump owes them a tariff refund.
It's an incredible burden, and especially incredible burden on small businesses.
Chief Justice John Roberts today appearing skeptical of Trump's assertion of power.
The vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress.
But Justice Brett Kavanaugh suggesting the president may need tariffs as a tool of foreign affairs.
The tariff on India, right? That's designed to help settle the Russia-Ukraine war, as I understand it.
Next tonight, disturbing images of the president of Mexico, the first female president there, being groped in public. She says she will press charges and explains why. Here's our Matt Rivers.
Tonight, authorities reviewing these unsettling images of the Mexican president being groped in public. The man now under arrest. Claudia Sheinbaum saying it was only after she saw the video that she understood what had really happened because she was speaking to so many people. Sheinbaum is Mexico's first female president, consistently saying that Mexico's future is female. But experts say crimes against women, from domestic violence to murder, are rarely prosecuted. The president saying she decided to press charges because this is something that should never happen in our country. And I'm not saying this as president, but as a woman and in representation of Mexican women. Sheinbaum saying the man was drunk and that he later went on to allegedly harass other women on that same street.
Some families and elected officials in Chicago are calling for the immediate release of a daycare teacher taken into ICE custody early this morning. That same teacher the government claims is undocumented. Reporter Leah Hope from our partner station WLS in Chicago has the outrage from the community.
A North Center daycare is closed after a teacher was arrested by ICE agents as parents dropped off their children early this morning. About 7:15 a.m., parents, staff, and children at Rayito del Sol Early Learning Center witnessed a woman being detained as she and her colleagues told agents she has documentation.
We're across from a high school. This is a daycare. There are so many children that come here every day. And for someone to just take a preschool teacher who pours herself into these children is just not right.
A statement from DHS explains agents tried to make a traffic stop when a man and a woman, who they say is undocumented, fled into a daycare. Further detailing, they ran into a daycare and attempted to barricade themselves inside the daycare, recklessly endangering the children inside. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez says she has viewed video from inside the facility this morning and saw events play out differently.
They didn't just walk in chasing one person. They went into multiple rooms asking and looking for teachers, while children were present. This is an agency that has gone rogue.
There is a sign at the door that says this is a business and a private place. They illegally pushed their way into the building. There was no barricading. There was none of that.
Several elected officials and parents from the daycare spoke this afternoon, demanding the teacher be released. Congressman Quigley says the woman has a pending asylum case and has a valid work permit.
This is a violation of public trust and should send shivers down the spine of every parent.
We need this educator home immediately. Her family needs that, her students need that, her colleagues need that. But we also need ICE to stop terrorizing our community.
Our thanks to Leah. In Paris, the search for answers in the multi-million-dollar jewelry heist continues with more lapses in the security system. A museum employee told ABC News that the password to the video surveillance system was simply Louvre at the time of the robbery last month. 4 people have now been arrested and charged in the heist. The jewels are still missing. Coming up, the online disinformation campaign that spread on YouTube and how one married couple is fighting for their reputation. And next, the government has been shuttered for 36 days, depriving military families, federal workers, and parents of paychecks and food benefits. Tonight, we meet some of the people and the families forced to make difficult decisions. Plus, after daily bear encounters and a dozen deaths, one country is now sending in military troops to cull its bear population. Welcome back, everyone. We are now in the longest government shutdown ever, 36 days. And tonight we introduce you to federal employees, military families, and parents who've allowed ABC News into their lives to show us the difficulties of living without the paychecks and food benefits that they have depended on. And now, more than a month in, tough choices must be made on who eats and where the next meal can be found, a problem only made worse by federal funding cuts to food banks. ABC News has reporting tonight from across the country from our Alex Perche, Victor Okendo, and Jay O'Brien. Here's a preview of our new special report, The Struggle for Food Assistance.
We're not pawns on a chessboard. We're people. Go ahead, climb on in, watch that piece of wood. They don't understand what a government shutdown is. My daughter made a comment the other day, well, Mommy, you can just go to the bank. What parent wants their child to see them struggling and upset and crying because you're worried about not only where the food's coming from, but we're right around the corner from the holidays.
And we'll keep on fighting to the end.
They want to send a list to Santa. How do you sit there and hear them talking about that and know that this year you may not be able to pull that off? It's heartbreaking.
Breakfast.
It's these simple moments, Mom Maggie Sabatino making breakfast for her 8-year-old daughter Kenzie and 9-year-old son Callan, that lately have become more difficult. All because Sabatino works for the federal government.
We were told if you call in sick, you have to provide medical documentation. When I call out, I tell them the truth. Can't afford childcare.
For the last 13 years, she's worked as a lead TSA agent at the Philadelphia International Airport. Sabatino's also the executive vice president of her local union chapter. But now she and roughly 1.5 million other federal workers are going without a paycheck, struggling to make ends meet. And it's not her first rodeo.
Completely different than the last one we went through, which was considered to be the longest in government history. This one, there is no support from TSA's leadership in Philadelphia.
Her last paycheck was on October 11th and far from what she normally gets.
Full taxes come out of that. By the time it's done, you're receiving $104. That's not a paycheck. That's supposed to carry you over through a shutdown. This is the little bit that is in here. You have some raviolis. This is enough to hold over for maybe another week. The fridge is pretty much empty. All of those bills are due at the beginning of the month. And there's no pay coming in to pay them. They gave us a letter for us to give to our creditors. Most of them don't accept it. They want their money.
She's contemplating applying for SNAP benefits, once called food stamps. But as this government shutdown drags on, now the longest in U.S. history, SNAP is out of money.
This is the first time in history that SNAP benefits were not issued fully to individuals, not even during the first shutdown, during the first Trump administration in 2018 to 2019, where benefits issue half or delayed as they're being done at this moment.
When you went up and applied for emergency SNAP, They also gave a list of pantries as opposed to giving you SNAP benefits.
Sabatino and so many others may now have no choice but to rely on the help of food banks.
You do what you have to when you have kids. They have to eat.
Like millions of others, Sabatino's path to her present uncertainty started on October 1st, when Democrats refused to approve a temporary spending bill unless Republicans agreed to extend expiring Obamacare subsidies so premiums don't rise for millions.
How long do you think this will go, Mr. Speaker?
I hope it's short.
The motion is not agreed to.
The motion upon reconsideration is not agreed to.
The motion is not agreed to.
Democrats are just saying, look, it's time to do a budget, to put it together, but we don't think the budget should cut healthcare access for 15 million Americans and drive up costs for every other American.
SNAP recipients shouldn't go without food. People should be getting paid in this country. And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times.
My Democratic colleagues are united in the fact that Trump and the administration can do this, not this weekend, tomorrow, today, right away.
The shutdown first forced the closure of some federal facilities, and all government workers stopped getting paychecks. Then, a month later, the USDA said funding for SNAP benefits had run out. 42 million Americans, roughly 1 in 8, rely on the critical federal food assistance program. The Trump administration is pledging to partially pay SNAP benefits for November to comply with a court order. But it's a waiting game, with no certainty of when that money will be dispersed.
The recipients of these SNAP benefits need to understand it's going to take some time to receive this money.
Just heartbreaking stories. To see more of Jay O'Brien's reporting, along with Alex Pachet and Victor Akendo, tune into our special report, The Struggle for Food Assistance. It will be available on Hulu and Disney+. Coming up, former NFL superstar Tom Brady makes a surprising revelation about his dog, who he says is a clone. But first, the targets of a viral false story spread by anonymous YouTubers talk about finding dozens of videos claiming that they were heading for divorce. What they're doing next in the hopes of holding the players accountable. Welcome back, everyone. Earlier this year, videos appeared on YouTube claiming attorney and television personality Faith Jenkins Lattimore and her husband, R&B singer Kenny Lattimore, were heading toward divorce. Many of the videos were posted by accounts whose names seemed to suggest that they were news or gossip channels. In some cases, they reported on evidence, including quotes from the couple about their marital problems and claims against each other. But Faith and Kenny are still happily married and say none of the claims or alleged evidence in the videos were true. The couple says that they were targeted by anonymous YouTubers spreading misinformation. They identified dozens of videos posted about them between April and June, many narrated with AI-generated female voices. In response to a subpoena submitted by the couple, Google provided the identities of these YouTubers, some of them who claimed that they were based in the U.S. but were actually located overseas. Faith and Kenny have filed a defamation lawsuit against those YouTubers, hoping to hold them accountable. Faith and Kenny, kind enough to join us now. Thank you.
Thank you for having
me.
Thank you.
So you're still together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Happily married.
Happily married.
When did you realize that these videos were being posted?
I got calls. I was doing a video shoot at one point. One of my friends called and she says, "Hey, you okay?" That's how it started. And then I got another call and it was, "Hey, are you okay?" No one wanted to say exactly what it was. Eventually someone said, "You know what? There's some different information on the internet about you and Faith." And I took a look and it was like a snowball. And you know, we're used to people saying things and having opinions and it just happens with the nature of you being in the public eye. But this was very different. When we decided this is a real problem, when you Googled us, it said the top thread on Google said that we were divorced and it linked to these anonymous videos as the source. So the truth was no longer at the top of Google search results about us. It was all lies.
And so you said you both are obviously in the public eye. Any idea, though, beyond that, why you were targeted and in this way?
It started with one person, one man who released videos about us right after our anniversary. What happened, Linsey, is his videos got views. That's what they say. And once that happened, a group of YouTubers picked up on it and they started basically piling on. And they would say things like, no, this is confirmed. We have the documents. We have exclusive. It was anything to get people to click on the links. And their goal, we now know, because Kenny and I aren't big YouTubers, we weren't really deep into what was going on online, but we now know their goal is one thing: to make the lie about you go viral, to get you to respond, because then when you respond, you feed into the chaos.
What kind of impact has this had on your personal and professional lives?
Well, one, when you have that kind of the pile on that can change the truth on the largest search engine in the world, you have people that truly believe it, and it's kind of sad and emotional to have your parents or your family calling you and they're up in arms. It's
a lot of people are hurt, not
it's
just
hurt.
you.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of hurt.
What led ultimately to the decision that simply, dispelling these rumors or taking the videos down wasn't enough, that you really needed to find out who was behind posting them?
Because I know that anonymity emboldens bad actors to do the things that they do. And I thought, if I can just expose who these people are, maybe it won't just help us, but it'll help deter future. It will make people think twice about doing the things that they do and saying the things that they say online when they know that they are intentionally fabricating stories. If they believe that their identities can be exposed, would they say the things that they're saying? Probably not. They probably wouldn't have that kind of courage. So I thought, at a minimum, we will find out who they are. So we sent Google a subpoena, and they responded to a lawful document, a subpoena, and sent us the names. They sent us a lot of information. They sent us names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses of these uploaders, because you can't hold a ghost accountable. We have to know who people are to hold them accountable. And we wanted some accountability in this case.
And once you found out who it was, what was the biggest surprise in it all?
The biggest surprise was that a lot of it was not our community. It wasn't anyone that knew us, of course, and that they weren't even in the United States.
They were men based in Pakistan, Turkey, India, not connected to the community at all. And yes, that was surprising, because I did not know that you could be on YouTube and lie about your location, lie about where you are, and in order to infiltrate yourself into communities that you are not connected to at all.
Where does your legal battle stand now, and what do you hope that people learn from your story?
Well, one, I'm hoping that people will understand that everything is not true on the internet. I think they do know that, but that they will also
I don't know if they do.
I hope so. But up in arms that it's dangerous when any kind of people can come together and shoot a lot of videos or show a lot of videos, and all of a sudden they can change that algorithm. I think that's so dangerous. That means it can happen to anybody, not just us.
And there's a misinformation economy. People are making money off of lies. The truth doesn't get clicks and views, but the lies do. So they are making money off of these lies, and we have to learn as people, stop feeding the beast. If we don't watch, if we don't share, if we don't click, then this kind of business will die out. So we have to understand these anonymous gossip channels, see them for what they are. They are not real, they are not news, and just be very wary of what you're watching and sharing.
That's right.
Faith Jenkins Lattimore, Kenny Lattimore, we thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you for having
Glad
us.
you're still together.
Yes.
But sorry that you had to go through all of this. And in a statement to ABC News, a YouTube spokesperson said, quote, "Our community guidelines lay out the rules for what's prohibited on YouTube, including harassment aimed at specific individuals. Even though Judge Faith Jenkins and Kenny Lattimore dismissed us from their lawsuit, we are undertaking an additional policy review of the content at issue." Coming up, a disturbing discovery on a popular fast fashion website could lead to the suspension of sales in an entire country. Plus, 24 hours in the lives of 5 very different Clevelanders, all hoping to score big when a televised antique appraisal show comes to town. Jeff Hiller and Santino Fontana, the stars of Lost and Found in Cleveland, join us to talk about the film and its all-star cast. France suspends sales from a fast fashion website after discovering disturbing products. A former NFL superstar reveals that his pet dog is actually a clone. And 26 years after the first iconic film, there is a Mummy reunion on the horizon. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown. As Chinese fast fashion retailer Shein opened up their first store in Paris, the French government has already summoned executives from the company to answer childlike sex dolls and weapons for sale on their website. The country's consumer watchdog discovered the items on sale through Shein's website, prompting a swift response from French officials. The company voluntarily shut down their site in the country and said they will cooperate with French prosecutors. The Japanese military is sending troops armed with bear spray and traps to a rural area of the country after a surge in bear attacks injured at least 100 people and killed 12 in the region. Bear encounters have been reported almost daily, with residents seeing black and brown bears near schools, train stations, and supermarkets. Experts say the bears are not endangered and should be culled. The prefecture is home to more than 800,000 bears, according to government estimates. Tom Brady says his dog is a clone. The 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback said in a statement that his dog Junie is a clone of his late dog Lua, who died in 2023. Colossal Biosciences, a venture capital-backed biotech firm, was behind the cloning, and Brady is an investor in the company. Dreyer's Ice Cream announced a voluntary recall on a limited number of Haagen-Dazs brand dark chocolate mini bars because the product may contain undeclared wheat. According to the company, the affected products were sold in a 6-count package with a best buy date of January 31st, 2027. The company said no illnesses or injuries have been reported to date in connection with the recall, which is being carried out in cooperation with the FDA. A pre-pageant event for the Miss Universe competition ended with contestants walking out of the room when a pageant executive started berating a contestant and calling her a dummy. The pageant executive from Thailand called out Miss Mexico for not participating in a photo shoot, alleging she was under orders from her country's pageant director to not participate. Miss Mexico tried to explain, but things then got heated, leading to Miss Mexico walking out and many contestants following her in protest. Later in an interview, she said she was not just a doll in makeup and wasn't afraid to make her voice heard. In a statement, the organization said in part they are working hand in hand with all partners to ensure a safe, inspiring, and memorable experience for every delegate. A new Mummy movie is in the works, according to the stars Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. It's been 25 years since the original movie was released in 1999, which helped pave Fraser and Weisz's paths to Hollywood stardom. Universal Studios is hoping to replicate the magic of that original film, which brought in more than $422 million at the box office worldwide. This will be the 4th movie in the franchise. No word just yet on a release date or any plot details. Next tonight, 24 hours in the lives of 5 very different Clevelanders, all hoping to score big when a televised antique appraisal show comes to town. Gio Benitez has more with the stars of a new movie.
It's November, and that means it's officially time to bring some festive cheer. In this holiday season, nothing can be better than communities coming together over the unexpected connections that bring people together. Jeff Hiller and Santino Fontana star in Lost and Found in Cleveland, which follows 24 hours in the distinctly different lives of 5 Clevelanders. Their paths begin to intersect when a televised antique appraisal show comes to Cleveland just in time for the holidays. Take a look.
I need you out there with me. I don't want to be publicly condemned all by myself.
Tickets out, folks.
Gary, they only want the owner.
You're part owner through marriage. It's a legal contract. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine.
I think you're overreacting.
I hate you.
And joining us right now are the stars of Lost and Found in Cleveland, Emmy Award-winning actor Jeff Hiller and Tony Award-winning actor Santino Fontana. Jeff, welcome back. Santino, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Oh, it is good to have you guys here. These characters are very, very different. So your character is part of a slightly neurotic pair of newlyweds, right?
Yes, yes.
And Jeff, you have you're part of that antique appraisals group. What was it about these characters that attracted you to this?
Jeff?
I play an antiques appraisal person, and at the time I was shooting Somebody Somewhere, where I played really a lovely, wonderful person, and this person was like a little prickly and edgy, and I kind of like that. I like to.
And I loved playing. My character's name was Gary. He's a professor on stereotypes, and he has a secret that he is trying to avoid being found out. He has a collection that he got from his a family member that is problematic, is what you should say, and it is very funny to see how he reacts when it becomes known.
You have legends in this show, Martin Sheen, June Squibb. What was it like working with these folks?
Amazing. I think this cast, when we saw who was cast, that had a lot to do with like, oh, we got to go do this. We got to go spend time in Cleveland to hang out.
They really brought some lively energy, didn't they?
June Squibb's having her 96th
birthday while she's rehearsing
That's
for a
crazy,
play.
96.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh boy, my career started so late. I'm like, I'm an idiot. She's 96 and still sharp as a tack.
Parties on Friday, Dave and Buster's.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
You guys both, you have been such amazing, successful actors and performers. Was there something that you learned from this particular role?
Not necessarily from the role as opposed to, I mean, I think what I learned, this came out of the pandemic a little bit. So it was kind of like, hey, do you want to come back out and work with some friends and work with people that you really admire and love and get in a room again and do what we all love doing? Which is what's so amazing about this movie going out nationwide is so incredible that audiences are going to be able to come together in a feel-good comedy that everyone can connect to.
Cleveland is really also a character in this project, right?
It's the Fifth Lady. Yeah, no, yeah. I don't know if you know this, but Cleveland rocks. And they, you know that Drew Carey?
I got it. Also ABC. Well done. Look at that.
But we loved shooting there. We stayed in this beautiful hotel that looked out onto the lake, and we were right by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And what's nice about Cleveland is, I think a lot of times people think of the Midwest, and I think Cleveland especially is sort of like the butt of the joke. Cleveland, you know. But I think it's really important to look at the fact that even in the middle of the country, not just these coastal elites, that people have beautiful stories to tell, and I'm proud to be part of that.
You know, this isn't the first time that you've taken on a role that really talks about the nuanced lives of people in America, right?
No, yeah, because I also was in a show that took place in Kansas, and it was a show that featured gay or queer characters in lead roles, and a lot of people were like, what is this fantasy? But of course, there are queer people even in Kansas and occasionally in Cleveland.
What do you guys hope audiences take away from this?
I think the connection between everyday Americans being able to find ways to connect, and I think it's also I think the big story is, this movie is going out nationwide. There are major movie stars that can't get a movie on nationwide, and the idea that this story about everyday men and women is going to be able to bring people together across the country is beautiful, and it's a feel-good movie.
Jeff, Santino, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
So appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And you can see Lost and Found in Cleveland in select theaters beginning this Friday, again, all across the country.
All right, our thanks to Gio for that. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.